Morning, the Ascendis team, Louis from our auditors and our shareholders who are with us today. Thank you for making the time to come through. I welcome you all to the 5th Annual General Meeting of the shareholders of Ascendis Health. And in terms of Article 20.5.1 of the company's Memorandum of Incorporation, I'm chairing the meeting in my capacity as Chairman of the Board of Directors. We have a quorum present, and I therefore declare that the meeting is properly constituted. And notice of this meeting has been given in terms of the Memorandum of Incorporation. I have received no apologies to share with you, so we carry on. In terms of the company's MRI, as chairman, I determine that all of the voting on resolutions will be done by way of poll. The way that this will work is that all members attending the meeting have been given a voting sheet for the resolutions to be presented. All proxy votes have been counted in advance. As each resolution is tabled for consideration, you must record your vote on the voting sheet. You may vote in favour of or against a resolution, or you may abstain from voting. At the end of the meeting, all the voting sheets will be collected and the votes on these will be added to those of the proxies. The results will then be announced at the end of the meeting after counting has been completed using the services of Computershare. I will allow the motions to be discussed after they have been put to the meeting. Notice of the meeting. I move that the notice of the meeting be taken as read. Are there any objections? No objections. We then move on to the minutes of the previous annual general meeting. The minutes of the 4th annual general meeting held on the 10th of November 2016 have been confirmed by the Board of Directors, and you will have received a copy of these minutes today. I now move that the minutes be taken as read. Do I have any objections? I then move on to the presentation of the Audit Committee report, and we have the chair of our Audit Committee present. I move that the Audit Committee report contained on pages 10 to 12 of the company's audited financial statements for the year ended 30th of June be taken as read. I ask for any objections. Are there any questions relating to the Audit Committee report that anybody would like to raise? No questions. We then move on to the Social and Ethics Committee, and again we have our chairman of that committee with us this morning. I move that the Social and Ethics Committee report contained at pages 67 to 69 of the company's integrated report of 2017 be taken as read. Are there any objections? And again, are there any questions relating to the Social and Ethics Committee report? We now move to ordinary resolution number 1, and that's the adoption of the financial statements. The next item on the agenda, ordinary resolution number 1, is to receive and consider for adoption the annual financial statements incorporating the director's report and the audit committee report and the independent auditor's report of the company and its subsidiaries or the group for the year ended 30th of June 2017. I move that the audited financial statements of the group incorporating the director's report, the audit committee report and the independent auditor's report for the year ended 30th of June 2017 be taken as read. Are there any objections? I propose that the audited annual financial statements of the group incorporating the director's report, the audit committee report and the independent auditor's report for the year ended 30th of June be accepted and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second this.
Thank you, Carsten. Do we have any questions that anybody would like to raise relating to the financial statements? We now vote on this motion. So those that are voting can tick their green papers. We now move to ordinary resolution number 2, and that's the reappointment of the auditors. And we have the partner in charge of our audit present with us. Welcome again, Louis. The next item on the agenda is to approve the reappointment of PricewaterhouseCoopers as the auditors of the company for the ensuing year, and to note that the individual registered auditor who will undertake the audit is Louis Rousseau. The audit committee has recommended that the firm be appointed for the ensuing period. I now propose that the firm PricewaterhouseCoopers be reappointed as the company's auditors for the year, for the ensuing year. Do I have a seconder?
I second.
Thanks, Barty. Any questions anybody would like to raise? Please now vote on the motion on the second line of the voting sheet. I now hand over to Gary Shane, who will propose ordinary resolution number 3.1.
Thank you, John. Ordinary resolution number 3.1, the re-election of Director John Andrew Bester. The next item on the agenda is to re-elect John Andrew Bester, who is available for appointment as an independent non-executive director in accordance with the company's MOI as a director of the company and as being eligible offers himself for election. I now propose that John Bester, who is an independent non-executive director of the company, be re-elected as a director. Information in relation to John may be found on page 56 of the Integrated Annual Report 2017. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second this.
Thank you, Carsten. Are there any questions? We will now vote on this motion. Please record your vote in the third line of the voting sheet. I'll now hand back to John.
Thanks, Gary, and thanks for your confidence in me. We now move to ordinary resolution number 3.2, and that's the re-election of the director, Gary John Shane. The next item on the agenda is to elect Gary Shane, who is available for appointment as a non-executive director in accordance with the company's MOI, as a director of the company, and being eligible offers himself for election. I now propose that Gary John Shane, who is a non-executive director of the company, be re-elected as a director. Information in relation to Gary may be found on page number 57 of the Integrated Report of 2017. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, John.
Thank you, Cliff. Are there any questions? We'll now vote on the motion. Please record your vote on the fourth line of the voting sheet. I again hand over to Gary, who will propose ordinary resolutions number 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3.
Thank you, John. Ordinary resolutions 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3 is the election of the members of the Audit Committee, which will be voted on as three separate resolutions. In terms of the Companies Act number 71 of 2008, as amended, at each AGM, an Audit Committee comprising at least 3 members who are all independent non-executive directors must be elected. It is proposed that Bharti Hari, John Bester and Kanesh Patha be appointed members of the Audit Committee and be elected for the next year. The election of each member of the Audit Committee will be voted on as one vote on each line of your voting sheet. Information in relation to the members may be found on pages 56 and 57 of the Integrated Annual Report 17, as well as on the Ascendis website. I now propose that Bharti Hari, John Bester and Kanesh Patha be elected as members of the Audit Committee. Do I have a seconder?
I second it.
Thank you, Carsten. Are there any questions? We will now vote on this motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate lines on the voting sheet. And I'll now hand back to you, John.
Thanks, Gary. We now move to ordinary resolution number 5, and that's the general authority to issue shares. The next item on the agenda is an ordinary resolution to grant the directors of the company and the subsidiaries of the company a general authority in terms of the MOI and the Companies Act to issue the unissued ordinary shares in the capital of the company in its discretion until the next AGM of the company, provided that such authority may be varied or revoked by any general meeting of shareholders prior to the next AGM, and that provided that on listing the ordinary shares on the JSE, any issue of ordinary shares shall be subject to the provisions of the JSE listing requirements. I move that the ordinary resolution as set out in the notice convening the meeting be taken as read. Do we have any objections? Andy, none? I propose that the ordinary resolution number 5 as set out in the notice convening this meeting be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you, Kieran. Any questions? We will now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line of the voting sheet. The next item on the agenda is the ordinary resolution number 6, which is the general authority to issue shares for cash. The next item is a resolution granting the directors the authority, by way of a resolution, to allot and issue all or any of the authorized but unissued shares in the capital of the company for cash, as they in their discretion deem fit, subject to the limitations as set out in the Act, the MOI and the JSE listing requirements from time to time, as at the date of the resolution. I move that ordinary resolution number 6, which requires more than 75% favourable votes as per the JSE listing requirements and as set out in the notice convening the meeting, be taken as read. Do we have any objections? I then propose that the ordinary resolution number 6, as set out in the notice convening this meeting, be approved and adopted. Have I a seconder? Thank you, Ganesh. Are there any questions? We'll now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet. I hand over to Gary, who will propose special resolution number 1.
Thank you, John. Special resolution number 1, approval of non-executive directors' remuneration. In terms of section 66, paragraph 8 of the Companies Act, the company may pay remuneration to its directors for their service as directors. Section 66, paragraph 9 requires a remuneration to be paid in accordance with a special resolution approved by shareholders within the previous 2 years. The effect of the special resolution is that directors will be entitled to the fees paid for the year ending 30th of June 2017. The proposed fees are set out at agenda item number 7 of the notice of the AGM. I move that the special resolution be taken as read. Are there any objections? I propose that the special resolution number 1 as set out in the notice convening this meeting be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you, Cliff. Are there any questions? We will now vote on this motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet. I'll now hand back to John.
Thanks, Gary. Special resolution number 2, which is the general authority to repurchase shares. The next item on the agenda is a special resolution to grant the directors of the company and the subsidiaries of the company a general authority in terms of the Companies Act and the listing requirements to acquire the company's ordinary shares, subject to the terms and conditions as set out in the proposed resolution. The directors require that such general authority should be implemented in order to facilitate the repurchase of the company's ordinary shares in circumstances where the directors consider this to be appropriate and in the best interests of the company and its shareholders. The proposed resolution provides for the company to approve, as a general approval contemplated in sections 4, 46 and 48 of the Companies Act, the acquisition by the company or any of its subsidiaries from time to time of the issued ordinary shares of the company upon such terms and conditions and in such amounts as the directors of the company may from time to time determine, but subject to the MII, the provisions of the Companies Act and the listing requirements as presently constituted, and which may be amended from time to time. I move that special resolution number 2, the statement by the board of directors of the company and the reason for the special resolution as set out in the notice convening the meeting, be taken as read. Are there any objections? I then propose that the special resolution number 2 as set out in the notice convening this meeting be approved and adopted. Have I a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have any questions? We'll now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet. We now go to special resolution number 3, and that's the approval to provide financial assistance in terms of section 44 of the Companies Act. The reason for this special resolution is to provide general authority for the company to provide direct or indirect financial assistance to a related or interrelated company or corporation subject to section 44(3) of the Companies Act for the 2 years commencing on the date of this special resolution. It is specifically recorded that the authority does not authorize the company to provide financial assistance to directors or prescribed officers. I move that special resolution number 3 be taken as read. Do I have any objections? I propose that the special resolution number 3 set out in the notice convening this meeting be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I will second that.
Thank you, Cliff. We'll now vote on any questions. We will now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet.
Yes.
Would you like to take a seat in the middle? Okay. We now move to special resolution number 4, the approval to provide financial assistance in terms of section 45 of the Act. The reason for this special resolution is to provide general authority for the company to provide direct or indirect financial assistance to directors or prescribed officers of the company from time to time for the 2 years commencing on the date of the special resolution. I move that the special resolution number 4 be taken as read. Are there any objections? I propose that the special resolution number 4, as set out in the notice convening the meeting, be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have any questions? We will now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet. We now move to special resolution number 5, and that's change to the company's memorandum of incorporation. The reason for this special resolution is to change the MOI to discontinue the practice of issuing dividend checks and only make dividend payments via an electronic transfer of funds. I move that the special resolution number 5 be taken as read. Do we have any objections? I propose special resolution number 5, as set out in the notice convening the meeting, be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I second it.
Thank you, Carsten. Do we have any questions? We'll now vote on the motion. Please record your vote in the appropriate line on the voting sheet. The next item is the endorsement of the Ascendis remuneration policy, and that's ordinary resolution number 7. We resolve by way of a non-binding vote that the company's remuneration policy, excluding the remuneration of the independent non-executive directors for their services as directors, is endorsed. This policy is available in the corporate governance section of the company's website at www.ascendishealth.com. We move to ordinary resolution number 8, which is the general authority to sign all documents. Resolved that any director or secretary of the company or any other person to whom a director has delegated authority be and is authorized to sign all documents and take steps as may be necessary to implement the resolutions contained herein. I move that ordinary resolution number 8 be taken as read. Do we have any objections? I propose that the ordinary resolution number 8, as set out in the notice convening this meeting, be approved and adopted. Do I have a seconder?
I second that.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have any questions? So that comes basically to the end of the formal part of the meeting, and we now will sign some papers and cast the votes where you need us to. Then we can take a tea break while you count the votes, and then we'll reconvene.
Thank you.
These are all yours. We will begin after before we just require your signature over there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Those two and that one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we'll bring back the numbers in a few minutes. Thank you. Hang on, and Gary's as well.
No, that's right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sign it.
Right, so if anybody wants a cup of tea, they're outside. Otherwise, we can sit and chat. And it's very nice to have you with us. Thank you for coming. And if you've got any questions, please ask them.
What is happening with the company? It seems acquired a lot of businesses, and profit seems up, but the share price isn't doing so well.
Okay, I'm going to pass that to Carsten, who does a lot of investor relations and is working with the shareholders constantly. So thanks, Carsten.
Yeah, our share price peaked probably a year ago with 29 Rand, and despite positive coverage via investment analysts, for example from Investec and Avior, our share price has come down a little bit. It's probably several things influencing the share price. One is the general sentiment against the healthcare sector at the moment. Some of our competitors were a little bit on the press also. The second point is that we are a mid-cap company, and a lot of the mid-cap companies see at the moment pressure from outflowing funds in South Africa of fund managers who don't receive so much money at the moment from international investors where they get their money maybe from. A little bit also due to the political situation and people sitting at the moment on the fence with investing their money, waiting for the policy conference of the ANC to happen in December. These are macroeconomic developments. From our company's point of view, there were some concerns in the market about our debt levels, which we are actually addressing at the moment. We have currently actually announced via the SENS announcement from the JSE that we're doing a rights issue in November in order to address long-term debt. So we're raising some extra capital, approximately 750 million rand, in order to actually address the debt situation. The second concern the market had was a little bit on our organic growth. And we had some areas which didn't do well, but I sometimes say, like in a good soccer team, you have good players and you had bad players. Overall, the score of our business was pretty good, and we won our match last year. We fulfilled the expectations with a 64% increase in sales, with more than 70% increase in EBITDA and normalized EBITDA. But the market wants to see us to do certain things to appreciate. So we are probably not as much as appreciated as we should be according to our intrinsic value of our business. And that's the reason also why one of our major shareholders wants to come on board with the rights issue at the moment to actually underwrite completely the rights issue. So there are some macroeconomic factors, but also factors which are perception-wise by the market seen that we are struggling, some parts of the market seeing that we are struggling with our organic growth. On the positive side, most of our acquired businesses doing very well, especially the biggest one, Remedica in Cyprus, a pharmaceutical business. So we expect actually in the half-year results, which will be published in first week in March, to show better organic growth than we have been showing in the past and addressing the concerns what the market had. And my team works very hard with me on actually addressing these organic growth subjects and to reduce gearing levels by collecting more cash and using the cash also to de-gear in order to get better interest rates and in order to address the concerns of the market on the long-term gearing levels. So that's maybe trying to summarize a lot of feedback we got in a few sentences. But you see, in the end, there are also effects like somebody shorting us, a hedge fund, in order, let's say, to make a quick win. But you need the hedge funds also for liquidity in our market. And our liquidity is not very high at the moment because of the market being a little bit sitting on the fence, waiting what's happening politically. Cliff on our South African side is doing a lot of work with the teams to bring up organic growth. We employed Thomas, the gentleman next to Cliff, looking after European businesses. So on the bottom line, our businesses are pretty sound, but we had to address certain issues what the market had regarding gearing levels and cash generation.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay, I have the results back, so we can now recommence. The results of the voting. Counting has been completed, and the results of the voting as follows. And I will read out the percentage votes as opposed to the number of votes that are taken in each and every case. As far as ordinary resolution number 1, adoption of the annual financial statements is concerned, 100% for, 100% obviously shares voted, none against. Ordinary resolution number 2, the reappointment of the auditors, 100% for and nothing against. The ordinary resolution 3.1, and I guess I'm making this statement, reappointment of myself as an independent non-executive director, 100% for and none against. These are percentages. Ordinary resolution 3.2, the reappointment of Gary John Shane as a non-executive director, 99.434 and 0.57 against. And I confirm then that Gary has been reappointed as a director. Ordinary Resolution 4.1, appointment of Bharti Hari as a member of the Audit Committee, 100% for and no votes against. And that I confirm that Bharti has been re-elected as a member of the Audit Committee. The next one is myself being appointed as a member of the Audit Committee, 97.67% for, 2.33% against, and that would confirm me as being a member of the Audit Committee. Ordinary Resolution 4.3, the appointment of Dr. Ganesh Sashinandan Patha as a member of the Audit Committee, 99.41% for, 0.59% against, and I confirm that Ganesh Patha has been re-elected as a member of the Audit Committee. Ordinary Resolution number 5, the general authority to issue shares by the company, 88.59% for, 11.41% against. I confirm that the general authority to issue shares of the company has then been approved. Ordinary Resolution number 6, the general authority to issue shares of the company for cash, 85.88% for and 14.12% against. I confirm that the general authority to issue shares of the company for cash has been passed by the requisite majority. Special Resolution number 1, which is the approval of the independent non-executive director's remuneration, 99.45% for, 0.55 against. I confirm that Special Resolution number 1, as set out in the notice convening this meeting, has been passed by the requisite majority. Then we go to Special Resolution number 2, the general authority to repurchase shares in the company, 88.59% for and 11.41% against. I confirm that the Special Resolution number 2, as set out in the notice convening the meeting, has been passed by the requisite majority. Special Resolution number 3, the approval of a financial assistance in terms of Section 44 of the Act, 85.58 for and 14.42 against. I confirm that Special Resolution number 3, as set out in the notice convening this meeting, has been passed by the requisite majority. We then go to Special Resolution number 4, and that's approval of financial assistance in terms of Section 45 of the Act, 84.37 for and 15.63% against. I confirm that Special Resolution number 4 has been as set out in the notice convening the meeting, has been passed by, again, the requisite majority. We go to Special Resolution number 5, which is an amendment to the company's Memorandum of Incorporation, discontinuing using dividend checks as distribution to shareholders, 100% for. And we go to Ordinary Resolution number 7, which is the endorsement of the Ascendis remuneration policy, 89.64% for, 10.36% against. And we note that this is this is an ordinary resolution and has a non-binding vote. Finally, Ordinary Resolution number 8, the authority to sign all documents, 100% for and obviously none against. We confirm that Ordinary Resolution number 8, as set out in the notice convening this meeting, has been passed by the requisite majority. Then the last item on the agenda is to transact any business as may be transacted as a general meeting. And since due notice has not been received by any other businesses, this concludes the business of the annual general meeting, and I thank you all for your attendance. Thank you. Now there's some tea and coffee outside.
Thank you, Chair.